think it's great. I learned shit. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Vet to Vet podcast with Tom and
Joe.
And today we have a special guest, Miss Charity Tovar. She is the owner and founder of Charity's Plumbing Solutions right here in Phoenix. Before we get started, I would like to say that we are proudly sponsored today by the Saddle Mountain Brewing Company out of Goodyear. This is their Thirst Responder American Lager. Anthony is your son.
He's my son.
And is also the master brewer there. So we will definitely be shouting them out on social media for hooking us up with the... Man, this stuff is just so good.
And Charity's got the 5G, which is the gold medal winner.
Oh, yeah. So, right.
Here we go.
I guess, so do you know anything about it?
It's fucking good.
Oh, there you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 5G has won numerous awards. I think they usually compete in like the American Beer Festival. Yeah. I know Arizona has several. They always win gold in something. Yeah. So yeah, back to Charity. Tell us. So
about the beer.
You have a really interesting story because you guys didn't start in plumbing. You've done a lot of other things in your lives. So tell us a little bit about who is Charity Tovar and kind of your story of how you got to where you guys are now.
All right. Well, hi, guys. Charity Tovar, owner and operator of Charity's Plumbing Solutions. And like Tom said, 2 years ago, I didn't think I'd be starting a plumbing company. I have a 21 years in financial background, and that's in mostly mortgage for that 21 years. But I came to a crossroads with the employer at the time, and I said, you know what is our next step? And at the time, my husband wasn't happy working with the service plumbing companies here in the Valley. He didn't care for their ethics, their sales tactics, their protocols that really weren't customer-centric at all. And so he was dabbling on starting a business. And when I found out that my job was being eliminated after a purchase between two large companies, I said, you know what? He came home and I said, I want to start a plumbing company. He goes, you're not going to go back to corporate. Like, are you doing this part-time? And I said, no, let's do this together. And I told him, I said, now, if we do this, are you really good at what you do?
Right.
I'd never really seen him in action in other people's homes, obviously. He goes, no, this is craftsmanship. And I said, okay, all right, so let's do this. And he goes, let's do it. He's like, you got this. So when we decided to open a plumbing company, it was based off of the needs that we're seeing in the industry that are just not being met. One, reliability. Two, customer-centric services. What does customer-centric services mean? It means I'm here to help you and to provide you service that you need, not sell you everything that I can possibly think of so I can meet my sales quota set by my corporate agenda, private equity owned plumbing company.
So basically solve real problems.
Solution real problems.
Right.
So, but when we were thinking about how are we going to go about and branding this, it was my husband's idea to brand it after me, be the face of the company. The reason for that is he really saw a need because one, when he's in a house, he has to wait for the wife's approval for work to be done, or it's a single woman homeowner. And so with my background in analytics and research, I went and looked into what the current industry has. And at the time, there's less than 4% of women in or working in the industry for plumbing. Plumbing is a $219 billion industry worldwide. And in the United States has less than 4% as women. But LendingTree just came out with a study. As of 2022, there's about 2.7 million more single women homeowners over single men. And so that really got me because I was a single woman homeowner for 10 years. I owned a couple of homes. And so seeing the need that there's a lot more women out here owning homes, but not having the representation, we went with that branding and that niche to this industry in Arizona that just doesn't exist. And because of that, it's blown up, absolutely blown up. not only just being woman owned, but bringing back craftsmanship and customer centric services. People enjoy that. They want that. They hate having someone come into their home and it feel like a hardcore sales pitch, because that's not what plumbing was 50 years ago. But in the last 20 years, we've had multiple huge private equity firms come in and buy up some of the biggest companies that you can. It's probably the company that you're thinking of right now. If you go to the ROC, you're probably going to find out that it's owned by a private equity firm. It's no longer family, third generation. And then you're going to find out they probably own like 5 or 6 different brands of plumbing, and
all in your same area.
All in your same area. And it's really starting to show. We're seeing less craftsmanship across the board, and we're seeing less knowledge being put out and experience before the technicians are being put out into a truck and coming into your house. And so we really focus on the quality and the craftsmanship and customer-centric services. And that, unfortunately, is a niche in this in today's Arizona plumbing.
Yes.
So that's kind of our story.
Instead of having a handyman come sweat some copper, you guys are actually artistes in what you do. I've met Rigo, and like I've never met someone more passionate about water and shit than he is. But he really does care, and the level that he goes to explain to you what's important and what isn't really goes a long way. That man is a talker.
No
he
doubt.
will talk your ears off, but you'll learn more in 5 minutes from just having a conversation about plumbing with him than you've probably ever known in your entire life as a homeowner.
Or me. I can talk your ear off too. But yeah, Rigo, I mean, that's the biggest compliment we get is realistically when people come out of an appointment with us, they are more educated and they have better information to make a decision on what they plan to do, because they know the why, the how, and the solution, so that they can figure out what's the best solution for them. But we hear that like every appointment we leave is, I had no idea. Now I know.
So what do you think that's most important for a homeowner to know about plumbing?
That it needs maintenance. Okay. Your water heater is not a crock pot. Okay. If your builder or the last person left the owner's manual, usually in a plastic bag that's glued to the side of the unit, read it, because it tells you exactly how to maintenance it. And if you don't do that, your water heater can break down a lot faster, especially with our horrible water here in Arizona. But that's not all. Everything that touches water in your house, especially without a water treatment system, it's only got a certain lifespan. And if you don't have periodic maintenance of that, pretty much we're seeing between 15 and 20 years, depending on who built the house, you're seeing pretty much everything start to fail at the same time. You have angle stops that aren't turning anymore. You have leaks coming out of the bottom of your toilet. You have water hammer, or your pressure regulating valve is failing. And that is so costly all at the same time. So people really need to know that they need to maintenance it. But what I'm seeing, watch out, every homeowner, insurance companies are now starting to send plumbing inspection reports to renew their homeowners insurance. Yep. We have gotten 2 requests, and this is usually after 1 to 2 water losses, depending. So if you've filed 2 claims, it depends on the insurance company. One of them required the client to add a automatic shutoff valve to their main line. So they had to incur that cost to renew their insurance.
I've seen those on some new builds where they're built in, plugged into an outlet.
Yeah, my builder has had those too, the Moen Flows.
Yeah.
But on top of that, in her report, I had to validate if her water heater was 10 years old or less. If it wasn't, she had to replace that. I had to validate if all of the angle stops in her house had any signs of corrosion. And of course, they wanted pictures of everything. And then we had to validate that she had water sensors under every toilet, next to every tub, under every sink. Okay. So we had to
Interesting.
document all of that in a report before her homeowner's insurance would renew her. The other one wanted a sewer camera inspection and basically a list of, I had to check every single thing that touched water, washer box, refrigerator box. We had to do a sewer camera inspection. We had to test the pressure, if there was a pressure regulating valve, if it was working. And that was for her just to renew. She wasn't required to do actual upgrades, but I had to go inspect it and then we had to validate it.
How many claims does she have on this house?
That lady had 2 water losses. The first lady only had 1.
Wow.
But with what's
dumb.
going on right now, this is why it's important to maintain your home.
I've seen, I got contacted recently from a customer that they replaced their roof 10 years ago. And then his insurer had notified him, unless he replaces his roof again, that they were going to drop his policy.
That's a big ask.
Yeah, that is.
That's a big ask.
Yep.
Like 15 to
And
20
so
grand.
I connected him with our power partner in the roofing industry, and he went out there and was like, this roof doesn't need to be replaced. He's like, I'll certify it for another 5 years. So he did, and the insurer still was like, no, replace the roof, or we're not going to renew your coverage. Turns out that same insurer has dropped 60,000 homes in California, and then another 30,000 here in Arizona. So it kind of gets it. We touched on this earlier, but you mentioned something about annual homeowner costs. Let's dive into that a little.
So I can't cite which news station it was, but about 3 weeks ago, there was a report that came out on the news in Arizona that the average annual maintenance cost for a home is $16,000 in the United States. So that's an average across the United States, but the average is $16,000 annually to maintain
insane.
your home.
That's just over $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I don't think I've spent that much. I'm behind the curve.
Right.
My
All
house
I
is
do
falling
is change
down.
my air filters, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I do that when I get yelled at.
Yeah.
it's definitely different here than being in California
Sure.
or even
Sure.
in like New England, really high humidity areas where you have stuff that, dry rot and all that stuff. But still, when people are purchasing homes right now, they really are not understanding the work that you have to put into it, but then they're also not understanding the simple steps that you can take to actually maintain it on a slow basis,
Right.
to let those components in your house last longer. And so that's one big advocate of our company is education. You're gonna know what to do after we make a
I get questions all the time when we're inspecting houses about what basic maintenance needs to be done. And almost every time when I mention flush your water heater once, if not twice a year, and everybody's like, what is that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what's so
They're
crazy.
like, you do that? What, how? What does that even mean? And
Yeah.
and you explain to them, that we have very hard water. It builds up calcium and mineral deposits. It will corrode the inside of your water heater. You have to take care of it. You flush it out. It prolongs the serviceable life. All these things, and they're just like,
What I find funny is, so we work with a pretty regular group of agents, and it never fails. As soon as I mention that, even if I've said it 1,000 times, they're like, yeah, I never do that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I've told you.
So, I mean, think about it. My home that I grew up in, that water heater probably lasted like, I don't know, maybe 30 years. I can't even remember seeing my dad
I
replace
just did
it.
a house in Sun City where it was 25 years old.
And I've seen that too. My mom still has the same Kenmore dryer that I grew up with. But the reality is, the industry decided it's not profitable to let things last.
Right.
Okay, we can all agree upon that, because that refrigerator that was 40 years old, you make it 8 years, 5 years out of your new hyped up Samsung with the computer on the front, right? So that type of maintenance hasn't been really passed down generationally. because we weren't having to replace a refrigerator every 5 years. We weren't replacing a dryer and a washer every 5 years. We weren't replacing the water heater every 5 years. But then also in the valley, we've grown exponentially in the last 30 years. And with that combination of the manufacturers not making everything to last, but then also the growth in the valley and how we're using our I'm from Arizona. I was born and raised here. Growing up, drinking water out of the hose is not the same as drinking water out of the hose now. Okay. It's definitely not.
Right.
But that water now takes a different effect, a worse effect than it did before. I'm sure though. I mean, yes, the city has to make sure that everything's got a certain level and everything. But I just left a house today that has 25 points hardness. My neighborhood has 17-point hardness. That is only a matter of time before your fixtures, especially plastic, dries up, cracks, leak in your house.
We find it all the time just testing regular plumbing.
Yeah.
All the time. You open it and water's like, it's like, oh.
Yeah. So since generational information really hasn't been passed down, I've talked to a lot of real estate agents who don't service the stuff in their home. So why would they pass that to their clients? And that's really kind of who they grew up with. Was their dad like the jack of all trades who taught him that? Mine was. When I bought my first house at 18, I knew my water heater had to be flushed. I knew that I had to engage my angle stops all around my house in the first year, every year. I knew that because he taught that to me. But in this day and age, everybody wants to just call somebody or find it on Amazon. So the reality of doing it yourself isn't that, it's just not taught.
So that's one of the things that I think we do a really good job of when we advocate with not just our realtors, but our clients is like, when I give someone my business card, I'm like, put this in your phone. Call me, text me, email me, anything regarding your house. Like, we are here to bridge that gap between the knowledge, like what you're talking about, and then the general person that doesn't live in this world. They're focused on taking care of their kids. What are we having for dinner? I got to be to work at 7:30. I'm up at 5:00, try to get, rush. And then they enjoy the limited time they have on the weekend. And then, rinse and repeat day in and day out. Like, I get that lifestyle. We all do, because we've probably all lived it at some point. But when those issues do arise, there is a way, and usually this is the course of action. A problem arises, they're like, oh, fuck, I need to call a plumber. They get the plumber out there, they get the problem fixed. And then in recollection, they're like, man, I really hope that doesn't happen again. What do I need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? So knowing a good home inspector and making sure that you're getting a good home inspection before you buy the property. One of those things that we do isn't just to identify how shitty your house is and how to request a ton of money off of it so you get the best deal. We sit here and educate you on the basics of home ownership, of like, this is normal, this is abnormal, and this is a safety concern. And then sit and break these things down and just kind of put things into perspective.
And priority.
Like, right, and priority. It's just like that old Clint Eastwood movie where the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's kind of what we go over. So that way people aren't just alarmed by the big issues. And they're probably, we're going to leave, they're going to forget, but they can still sit down and redigest it and save it in that report. So then they have that time-tested document to be able to review and be like, oh, hey, you know what? I remember he said something about, get my air conditioner serviced once a year, So then when my dog is laying next to it and the hair gets stuck on it, at least that gets cleaned off,
But it's interesting that what you just brought up is that you said it's not just, the report's not only just so that you can get a whole bunch of money off the house.
Right.
And that's really the basis of this conversation today. There's a lot of things out there, you guys, that you should not be taking seller credits for. There aren't. There's a bunch. One particular is an older home built in the 1950s. We've got cast iron that's completely ready to go. and I go out, I'm constantly asked for a sewer camera inspection. I get the sewer camera inspection done. I recommend some type of lining. Of course, they want a number. Why? Because that number is now taken off the purchase price. So you've just taken, let's say you have a kitchen line, the main line, where it's a 17 grand to line all the sewers. Right. Okay. So now you've negotiated with the seller at the advice of your real estate agent so that you can close on time. Hey, let's just get a credit, out of sight, out of mind. You as a new homeowner or repeated homeowner, you really don't know what ticking time bomb you just set off. Okay. Now, there are ways to negotiate and still have that repair done after close or before close, because I have run into more clients that at 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year have major tens of thousands of dollars repairs needed because they just decided to take a credit. But they don't know, okay, you know what? We don't want a credit, so we're not going to go from $400,000 down. We're going to keep it the sales price, but you know what? We're going to take this estimate. We're going to have the seller pay out the plumbing company, HVAC, electrical, whatever it is, pay it out at closing for that repair to be done. And nobody needs to stop the process. You can agree to have the repair done. But I find so many real estate agents who are truly looking for a way out as fast as possible. Because, I mean, if you don't know the statistics, I mean, in Arizona, like the average real estate agent is doing like one deal a year or something like that. So their commission check is extremely important when they get it. Delaying it messes up their financial need. But at the same time, we have people who have absolutely no idea that, yes, I just scored this house for $20,000 less, to come back 6 months later and basically bankrupt themselves because their sewer line has collapsed and they don't have the ability to finance a $20,000 repair. But they are so excited to find out when they talk to me that if their real estate agent actually advocated for their health and safety, or even financial security, they could have structured it. They could have structured it with the lender. Even an escrow holdback is available with some lenders. But there's still ways that the seller can that money that you were going to get credited can still be used instead of a credit to lower the sales price or even your closing costs. There are still ways for that to be credited for repair and it not blow up the deal.
Something else a lot of people don't know about is, let's say they do need a main sewer line repair. When that buyer's agent writes their BINSR, they can actually put in there sewer line repair replacement to be done by Charity's Plumbing Solutions.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit back and say sewer line repair or replacement to be done, period. And then the seller just finds whoever, to maybe do it.
Yeah, because a credible sewer line reline should have a 20-year warranty on residential. Okay. But also that process, I've sat through 3 or 4 of the processes on my own clients sitting at their house watching it. It can be a 2 or 3 day process depending on how long and how many arms you have in the sewer line. It is no joke. It is less expensive than tearing up your floor and putting it back, but it's definitely worth taking a step back from your transaction and going, how can I get this done? I don't just want a credit for $10,000 off the price of the house or towards something, because honestly, guys, $10,000, $17,000, even $20,000 isn't going to change your mortgage payment $150. But when you have to finance a $20,000 repair and whatever your credit status is, you're looking at a $400 to $700 a month payment. Right. So which one would you like? Would you like the mortgage would you like the sales price to stay the same and you've already qualified and you understand the payment? Or would you like an additional payment when you are desperate because you have no way of living in your house because your sewer line collapsed?
And you don't even get to sit down and enjoy it. It just is you have to do it to make things work normally.
Just
Yeah.
to
You
live.
know, like how do you enjoy a functioning sewer line? Like it just works. You know, like you don't get to admire it. You know, it's just when you push the little lever, things disappear.
They disappear
You
and go
know?
down with gravity.
Right. You know, so I could only imagine the nightmare that a family has to go through when their shit literally isn't just disappearing. You know,
Yeah. And
I'm sure
do.
you've seen it and you've felt it.
Yeah, I had one particular client. He lives in Levine, first time home buyer. He felt a little pressure to get this house because it was $20,000 off. He's a first time home buyer. The house is 20 some years old. 3 AC units, all with the older
R22.
R22.
Yep.
Okay. So already that's a red flag. Then he has a big tree in the front yard. They didn't do a sewer camera inspection. So when he called me and said, I think I have some, like my toilets aren't flushing on the first floor. We went out there, we found a bunch of roots. And then he told me 2 of his AC units had just gone out. I walked through the house, his water heater, I advised him, your water heater is shot, okay? You need to actually get this replaced as soon as possible because when this starts leaking, it's going to cause a bunch of damage and you have a bunch of stuff in your garage. So in that conversation, I asked him, I said, you know, how did you find your real estate agent? And he's like, well, it was a friend of a friend. And I said, okay, so that real estate agent, what did they do? They own a couple of businesses. They kind of do this on the side.
Mm.
And I said, okay, that's really unfortunate. He had put all his money he had in the bank into buying this house. And within 6 months, he has 2 AC units he can't afford to buy. And he has roots in his sewer line
That he can't afford to
that
fix.
he can't afford to fix. I did advise him of the water heater. Unfortunately, he called me 3 weeks ago and said, hey, you told me about the water heater. It went out. And I'm like, 3 for 3, this poor guy.
Yeah.
But you know what? He probably could have gotten to a builder home up
Did he
the
have a home
road.
warranty? Or did his agent not advocate for him to get a home warranty?
I couldn't even have the conversation past that without finding out who his agent was to go, I don't understand why you did this to this man, because he lives on pins and needles whenever I see him. And he calls me when he has questions because he knows that I'll answer him, and he lives in the area where I live. So I have driven over a few times to try to give him some advice on it, but he literally does not have the money to do this almost $40,000 in repairs, but he got the house for $20,000 less.
Boom. There you go.
Boom.
So really,
Nice.
it's only $20,000 worth of repair.
No,
go
but
tell
that's
him
the whole
that.
point. Is
Silver
that
lining to
Right.
everything.
you know,
Right.
homeowners really need to know that there are options. And that really starts with some educating the real estate agents. I know you do a lot of educating with real estate agents.
We do.
I'm starting to get into educating real estate agents as well. And we're going to tag team a couple of times.
sure.
But, you know, these are things that your real estate agent may not even know themselves. And that's why it's important to listen to this podcast and listen to whatever Tom says to do.
I think it just gets down to actually caring and like giving a fuck about people.
Yeah.
You know, I've been asked this. Well, I ask people this question all the time, like, and I'll even ask you, like, why does your business exist?
My business exists because I see that my industry is not out to help people. It's out to get as much money as possible.
Boom. You just said the key phrase. Most people start a business to make some motherfucking money. And if that's the reason you're in business, you're going to be the first business to go under.
Yep.
Because the reason our business exists is to help people solve problems. That's
Exactly.
it. Like nobody's going to call you unless, like, if they don't have stiff knobs, if they don't have plumbing leaks, like if everything is great, they're never going to hear from you. Right?
Right.
Okay. But when something isn't right, they want it to be right.
They need a
Yeah.
solution.
And that's literally why you guys are providing solutions. And it's not just a like, here's the quote, here's the price, take it or leave it. You guys literally sit down with people and like, look, here's what we can do. Here's the way that I recommend it be done. And then if you really want like the Cadillac, we have that too. You know,
Yeah.
like you guys sit and like talk to people to try to understand what it is that they need
Yeah.
and then meet the need instead of like shoving people in this corner of like, nope, this is just the way it is. This is what we do here. And, you know, you can either, you can do business with us or we'll, you know, we're out of here.
We got other people. No,
Right.
and I enjoy it. I enjoy giving that education to people. You've met Rigo, you
Mhm.
know he does. So that mission, I mean, our vision is to be a household name and a well-respected brand. I'm not just a business. I am a brand known with quality, craftsmanship, and integrity. And integrity itself has so many different words under its definition. But that's our vision, is to grow our brand off of those. But our mission is to educate people so that they can make the best decision, because owning a home is not cheap. And homeowners don't know what they don't know.
So with that, then what are some practical tips that you can give a homeowner to keep it at $16,000 a year, $1,600 a year, $1,600 a year? Yeah. What can they do to maintain the home? What are some best tips?
Water treatment. Oh my goodness, you guys. Water treatment actually helps prolong your fixtures, your plumbing, because that scale, that calcium buildup, all of that is being taken out of your water with a softener, or you can get it with a conditioner and just reduce it. But that itself saves a lot of the early problems is water treatment.
So that's a great point. So I don't think everybody knows this, so I want to take the chance to educate. What's the difference for the homeowner between an RO system, a water softener, a water conditioner, or a whole home water filtration system? You know, because us as homeowners, we get the people, you know, knocking on the door trying to sell us their shit. Like, when it really comes to water treatment options for the homeowner, what are they and how do they differ?
Can be a very long answer. So
Okay.
let's go with this. RO is point of use. Okay. An RO system uses a membrane to basically push everything out of the water from like 95% to 98% purity. Okay. That system is not, it's usually underneath your sink, and it has a 5-gallon bladder. And then it has a membrane and filters. Okay. That is not practical at the cost for your whole home. Okay. So that's not hooked up at the loop in your garage. Yes, if you want to spend tens of thousands of dollars, we can look into building that, but we're looking at a huge bladder the size of a water heater.
It'll take up your whole garage.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's used in commercial space, but that is point of use at your sink. So that's reverse osmosis. Okay. Now, water softeners. Okay. The basic water softener uses ionic exchange with the salt to remove hardness. Okay. But can it remove hardness completely? Maybe not. And the variable is where you live. Okay. Because water in Peoria is different than Tempe, then it's different in Phoenix, and it's different in Tucson. Okay. So the point is to reduce it down to as low as you can. But a softener is not a filtration system. So you still get bacteria, you still get chlorine and that smell that can come through
You still
our
get
water.
total dissolved solids.
Yeah. Well, you're still going to get that with a conditioner too. But either way, so then softeners are not, like, nobody drinks soft water. Okay. You don't water your plants with soft water.
It's salty.
Well, to the
It can
taste, because
be.
I had a client today and I was like, taste this. Can you tell the difference? This is why you don't drink this.
Right.
Okay. But when you have a loop built into your house, a softener is normally why it's built into your house, and the softener will skip, or the loop in the house will skip your hose bibs so that you can water your plants without soft water.
You'll kill them if you
Yep.
use soft water.
It skips your kitchen sink cold, because we don't cook with soft water. We don't fill up our coffee with soft water. And then the connection to, if you have a refrigerator line, that feeds that. It doesn't do that. And it skips the toilets, which I don't know why. I wish everybody, like builders, if anybody's listening to this, can you guys start looping and including toilets? Why can't toilets have water treatment? I mean, they touch.
Because they want you to work for that shit, like scrub it out.
There's no point. So
it's like, what are those little things, the Lever 2000?
Oh, yeah.
They want you to just keep buying, the Johnson & Johnson bullshit.
Yeah, which is totally bad for your tank anyway.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so it skips all that. It goes to your, a loop will go to your hot water tankless or tank, and then basically you will have hot water treated throughout the house. Okay. But then your faucets, your shower heads for the bathrooms will, in the cold side, will have treated water. Your dishwasher will have treated water, softened water. Your washing machine will have that. And that's what's on the loop. And what's so surprising is knowing what's on the loop and not on the loop is the biggest education I have provided in the last 2 months. People are just have no idea those things are skipped.
I can see on my bathroom faucets where I'll get just a little bit of like a salt rim that I have to clean off around but yeah, kitchen sink, never. No, but that's great. That's freaking great.
There's more.
Okay, well,
so
let's go.
you wanted all of them. So then we go to, so you called it a whole home filtration.
Right.
What does that mean to you, Thomas?
So the way it was advertised to me was, so the city has to provide pH balanced water to your house. But it doesn't filter out all of the total dissolved solids. So whole home water filtration will. And then depending on the number of layers that are built up in your tank will depend on how much fluoride it filters out, how much chlorine it filters out. And then also once you start talking about the forever chemicals like the PFOS and PFAS stuff,
sediments,
right, like
heavy metals.
Yeah, all of that. So upgrading to some of the more robust whole home water filtration systems do have those capabilities because they have more differential layers built up in that tank.
Usually,
whereas a water softener does not.
Now, does that system also have water softening included? Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, there is. So that's advertised as a whole home, right? But what happens when you hook it up to your water loop in your garage? Is it truly whole home?
Right. Well, exactly like you just said. Then it eliminates a few of those because there's a water distribution like manifold, right? That decides what water goes where, right? It's primed all the time, but kind of like you said, like great example. When I got mine, I was like, well, hey, I want to wash my truck with soft water because it'll reduce the number of water spots. And so they were like, oh, okay, well, the hose bibs on the outside of your house are not going to have soft water. So we'll just sweat a hose bib onto the copper coming off of your loop once we get your softener hooked up or your, treatment, whatever. And so they did. And so I can wash my truck with conditioned water. And yeah, I just like shame
conditioned water or filtered water?
All same thing. I'm using those terms interchangeably, but yes, with treated water, that makes a noticeable difference in the number of water spots that remain on the truck. Yeah. Because then all I have to do is wipe it off as opposed to sitting there and like, man, I need some more water to be able to get the water spots off.
I got gas running down the side of my truck. I guess I don't worry about water spots.
So with that system, you have your ionic exchange as well as filtration.
Right.
If you do hook it up to the loop in your house, then the name whole home, yes, it exists, but the reality is it's not.
Sure.
It's not because of what the loop skips. And that's why the most often pairing with an ionic exchange or salt-based water treatment is the reverse osmosis at the sink. So you can have the treated water for everything else you cook with. And also that line, that RO would be hooked up to your refrigerator and then you're set. Now,
That's what I have.
I have that too.
Yeah.
I have that too.
It's awesome. I feel like the bougiest person in the planet when it comes to drinking water. I took my water jug and I have a half-gallon water jug I take to the jobs. Well, I finished it after my morning job, and then my second job I went down to Maricopa, and I was like, oh man, this thing's empty. So I was like, but I had a big old block of ice left, and I was like, damn it, okay. So I went over to the sink, and I'm like, let it, as a brand new house, like let it run. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, okay, sit here, fill it up, close it. I'm like, man, I'm just so freaking thirsty. I drank that water and I almost spit it out because of how disgusting it was.
I might as well be drinking out of a hose at my house. I mean,
So the third system is water conditioning.
Got it.
So water conditioning, some of these companies call it saltless softening. This is science, people. It is science. There's no ionic exchange with a conditioner like a softener. Conditioning systems, depending on the manufacturer, basically coat those molecules and ions and let them pass through. So what I like to say is, like, if this is the molecule, it basically suppresses it so that they're not hitting each other. They're hitting each other, but they're not like connecting and gathering. Okay. So that system media, that's not the same as softener. They're made with resin. Okay. So conditioners made with media, they run their lifespan can be a lot less. Okay. The manufacturers that I've looked at and used and researched, media usually has a less, like maybe 5-year on the high end, whereas softeners with resin used with high end, more restaurant grade resin, it can get up to 15 years. So anyway, conditioners have multiple layers of filtration, like you're saying, but they also they condition the water. The water can be drinkable. That water is drinkable. But if you hook a conditioner up to your loop, you still skip everything that you can drink, right?
the toilets are just getting discriminated against.
But you can actually hook a conditioner up to your main line if the main line water comes into the garage wall. We can hook the system right there and it bypasses the loop. So now everywhere in the house has conditioned water, at the sink, at the refrigerator, and it's safe to drink conditioned water.
So that's why I've seen a loop and then another one installed.
Yeah, so we install constantly. Once I explain these differences, then people are like, well, I don't want an RO system and a softener. I'll just put the conditioner. If I can install the conditioner on the interior wall of the garage, I'll just go with that. And they choose to do that. And then they determine if they want the additional RO later based off of the water and the taste. But a conditioner has multiple layers of filtration. So bacteria, chlorine, heavy metals, all of that.
Right.
But it's so valuable to preserving the integrity of your pipes and your water fixtures that touch water. Because we all know, especially on the new builds, everything's plastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The angle stops are plastic. So the less wear and tear you have with the water, and you have treated water, the longer you can get before something breaks, because it's just dried out from all the stuff we have in our water. So those are the differences.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I love good water, you know?
Oh no, I need good water. A lot of people, especially with a lot of the education I give, is I have really bad eczema. And I don't know if it can be seen, but I'll point it out. Right up below my nose is a red area. That's a spot for my eczema. I wear long sleeves because I have eczema all over my arms. Water treatment is essential to my quality of life day to day, because I don't have hard water. I don't have chlorine. Don't have sediments. I don't have heavy metals coming in contact with my skin that makes me itch on a daily basis. So water treatment, besides how great it is for my house, is really important to me. And a lot of people don't realize that just having the water treatment can actually improve their itching skin. I talk about it all the time. People are like, whoa, actually, yeah, my whole family, we itch when we get out of the water. Well, that's because you need to put something on it.
So if somebody wants to make an investment for their family, for their skin, for their quality of life,
Because they want to
What-
be bougie.
right? What?
So mean.
Because I'm
You're so mean. Look at my finger. That's
Right.
what eczema
Oh,
is,
no.
man.
yeah. So what? And I have no idea. It's been so long now since I went down the water treatment, rabbit hole. It's 2024, almost 2025. If shit doesn't hit the fan in the next month with the election coming up, what should the average homeowner? What's the range for what the options realistically are on a good variance of systems for the average home?
So, a good system, and that's really important to me. When I researched, there's a couple of options here in Arizona. The system that I use, we have it in our home, and I've been using it for a couple of years since we moved into the new home. But a range you should be seeing for a good system, it's pretty big, okay? I mean, it's like $3,500 all the way up to my next door neighbor got one for 12. You go to Costco, this water treatment there, just the system, I think is $9,000. That's not the installation.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah. And don't quote me, but that's what I was told, okay, by someone who did purchase the Costco water treatment option. And so really people want to do research, but it's not out there. Okay. Contractor grade, like I have, there's not reviews, there's not retail on it. You basically get to go off of whoever's in your house telling you this is great and this is why, or whoever who has another system. So the biggest thing that people need to remind themselves about, because I do get this question a lot, what's the difference between your system and the system I can get at Home Depot or Lowe's? Okay. Home Depot or Lowe's systems, even one of them is like $2,800. I saw a water softener. Okay. A water softener and whole home filtration. Well, people ask us to install them, which we'll do. But when we pull them out of the box, the connections are PVC plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you don't even have any copper hard pipe. And then if you don't know what you're buying, you can get the wrong size system. But then also some of the systems reduce. So the other day we were installing a system on 1.25 inch main that reduced down to 3/4 at one point. Well, you don't know, homeowner, that your pressure in your house is about to drop. But you know what? That $2,500 system looked really good, okay? And then you find out you're getting crappy pressure at the other side of your house, and you pull the system off. That's why you use contractors like me who can explain to you exactly the ramifications. And we've had people return systems from Home Depot or Lowe's because they didn't realize they bought the wrong size. Okay. But also those systems don't have the warranties that I have. They don't. They're not rated for 15 years. And that box of that system is sold in Arizona, sold in California, sold online. So if Arizona water is so bad as it is, which I've lived here my whole life and it is, wouldn't you want something that's actually kind of built for our water, or what you can buy in Michigan, New York, and California?
That was the same rabbit hole that I went down, because there's like 5-layer tanks, there's 8-layer tanks, 10-layer, 12-layer, and yeah, same thing. It's like there's stuff that Culligan Water, they sell water softeners nationwide.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's nothing in H2O Concepts. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with it. But if you're trying to do research, you're not going to find it.
Sure.
Okay. You have to wait for somebody to come into your home. And that's where we're different. So I'm going to hold up my little water treatment guide. I am the only plumbing company I know of that has put all of this information in here to give you a decision. You may not even go with me, but getting water treatment is an investment. You should at least get something that meets your expectations. And that's the most common thing that we're finding is people think that, like yesterday I had an 1.5 hour conversation with a guy who had like 4 different people tell him different things. And I broke it down, and he's like, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I said, well, I know you're not going to actually purchase one for me. He wasn't. It wasn't in his budget, and that's fine. But I told him, the best thing I can do for you is give you the education so that you can get what you're expecting.
Right.
And he was like, cool.
So you give that out to all your clients or anyone interested in water treatment?
Yeah, I do, especially for people with new builds.
Right. Because
one thing that your real estate agent may not know and the builder doesn't tell you, tankless water heaters. Tell them, Thomas.
So I'm not going to throw out the brand name. I'm just going to let you know that there are multiple manufacturers of tankless water heaters. And if you go back to, like Charity said earlier, about checking that little homeowners guide that comes with every hot water heater.
If they leave it for you.
If they leave it for you. It's probably in whatever junk drawer they throw all of them in. Several manufacturers will void their manufacturer warranty if their water heater is installed in an area with known hard water deposits.
Yep.
In a known hard water area, they will void their manufacturer explicit warranty.
Unless you have a water treatment.
There you go.
So my builder, 380 homes, all have loops. And my neighbors, they had no idea. I mean, I still have some neighbors who, I can lead a horse to water, but can't make him drink. I've told them, like, look, here is our warranty. There's 5 places in our warranty for our water heater that's throughout the whole, a tankless water heater that's throughout the whole community that says void, 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 water treatment or hardness above this, known this. If you know you have it, then as soon as they find scaling, void. Yeah. Void. And I'm sorry, guys, tankless water heater replacements after 5 years, that sucks. It's not cheap.
Yeah. You should be descaling those, by the way.
Yes. And that comes down to an annual maintenance requirement too. We do water heater flushes once a year. It also does depend on usage. Okay. If you have a house with 11 people, your flush time frame should probably be about every 9 months. Okay. Because the usage is a lot higher than pretty much standard household.
As opposed to like a single person.
Yeah, exactly. But realistically, after the first year, we're gonna kind of see, because we're gonna see how the water looks after your first year. And if we're not seeing too much of that, it like turns black. Okay. If we're not seeing that color, then maybe you can go a little bit longer than a year. But if you have a lot of people in your house and it's like black, we're going to try to say, okay, the next one, let's do it in 9 months and see what it looks like. Because replacing a tankless water heater, I mean, people don't even want to replace a water heater. Replacing a tankless water heater, it costs more. I don't want to say it's like, oh, it's expensive. No, it just costs more. Okay. You have a higher technology, compact. You don't have a tank, but the great thing about tankless is like the tankless I provide has a 15-year on its heat exchange, 15-year warranty on its heat exchange. All you need to do is make sure you have water treatment and we're straight. But a tank water heater, basic tank water heater, 6 years.
Yeah. I see them all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a lot of great information here.
Yes, Joe.
If anybody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
86. No, I'm just joking. 5309. No. They can go to Charity's Plumbing Solutions, and it's very important you put in Charity's Plumbing Solutions. That's my website. I'm on Facebook. We're on Instagram under Charity's Plumbing Solutions, or you can call Tom, and Joe's got my number too if anybody wants to know.
She is a power partner.
Right.
Yes, we've been working together for over a year now. But my office phone number is 602-853-5981. And my awesome operations manager, Emily, will be happy to take your information. And if you want me to come out, I do work in the field. I assist with installations, but I do estimates. I do appointments with water treatment, and I am available as well. You can request me.
She just has a higher cost per hour.
I mean,
That's all. I would too.
I'm on a podcast.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this has been great. I'm so happy that we got a chance to learn more about your business. If you don't have water treatment in your house, you are literally just setting yourself up for failure. Don't be that person.
Real quick, this is a business podcast. What's your biggest advice for a new business starting up?
So this is controversial because people have asked me or told me, no, it's not necessary. Get yourself a fractional CFO. Okay. A fractional CFO is not a person that you hire on full time. But when you're starting a business, you need to know what your margins are. You need to know what your cost is to make a profit. Most small businesses fail within the first 5 years because they're like, yep, I'm on QuickBooks, I'm on Excel, but you can get fractional. And I have one, a fractional CFO that and I say at the beginning, even if it's only a contract for 3 months, that person can help you determine your expenses, what your average cost is, like what are you charging? What is the time frame that you're taking to do work? And it depends on your industry. But contracting a fractional CFO when you start your business will help you price yourself so that you're not running into bankruptcy at 18 months, 24 months. That is the best advice I can give someone.
Because
spend that money.
Quality matters, and it isn't cheap.
Yeah.
So stop being a fucking cheap ass and spend the money, get quality, call Charity.
Yeah. Right,
Call me.
Take us home.
Yep. So guys, look, we're gonna do this again. We've got a packed lineup of awesome people to bring you guys. So if I have anything to do with it, we're gonna kick these things out a little more frequently to you guys. I'm again super grateful for Charity
Thanks.
for being here with us. Joe has got his boats and hose shirt on. So
Boats and hose.
if you guys zoom in, you'll be able to see it. Look, this is a passion for us. We love bringing content to you guys. Drop us a line, shoot us a message. Let us know what kind of what you guys thought of Charity for one, but then also maybe some requests, all right, or some feedback. Cool questions we'll feature on the next episode. So, vet to vet, we're out.